I want you to picture the moment you book that dream vacation. Maybe it's the 50th anniversary trip to Hawaii or the flights to finally go see the grandkids on the other coast. You are sitting at your computer, coffee in hand. You pull up Expedia or Priceline or Orbitz, one of those big comparison sites. You type in your dates, and there it is, the perfect flight. And look, it says deal, save 35s. A little voice in your head. Maybe it's the voice of your parents who grew up in the Depression and taught you to watch every penny. Says smart. Why pay full price to the airline when you can save $35 right here? You feel a rush of dopamine, you click book, you enter your credit card, you get the confirmation email, you feel savvy, you feel in control. I need you to listen to me very carefully. You just made a catastrophic mistake. That $35 saving is an illusion. You haven't bought a confirmed ticket, you have just bought a massive liability. When you click that button on a third-party site, you are not buying a ticket directly from the airline. You are handing your hard-earned retirement savings to a middleman, a digital stranger, and asking them to go buy the ticket for you. If everything goes perfectly, sure, you saved enough for a mediocre airport sandwich, but if anything goes wrong, a storm, a mechanical delay, a missed connection, a health emergency, that middleman disappears. And you are left standing alone in an airport at midnight, looking at an airline agent who is shaking their head and telling you, I'm sorry, I can't touch your ticket. We don't know who you are. I see this happen every single day. I see the tears, the panic, the missed cruises, and the financial devastation of older travelers who thought they were getting a deal and ended up in a nightmare. Today, I'm going to explain exactly why booking with Expedia, Priceline, and the others ruins your trip when things go wrong. I'm going to show you the hidden traps they don't tell you about and why the only way to protect your peace of mind is to cut out the middleman. Hi everyone, I'm Sophia. If you're new here, welcome aboard my channel. For the last 15 years, I have been a commercial flight attendant. I consider myself your guardian in the galley at 35,000 feet. But my job doesn't just happen in the air. I spend a lot of time at the gate. I hang out with the gate agents, and I see the other side of travel. The side where things fall apart. When I look at my older passengers, folks who remind me of my own parents, I feel protective. You have worked hard your whole lives. Your retirement travel is precious. It's about making memories, not fighting with call centers in foreign countries. I am here to tell you the truths that the travel industry hides in the fine print. I'm going to explain why the airline agent literally cannot help you when you book with Expedia. And it's not because they are mean. It's because of how the computer systems are intentionally rigged. Let's talk about why you need to stop trusting these third-party sites with your dream trips. The single biggest misconception my older passengers have is this: I have a Delta flight, therefore I am a Delta customer. When you book through Expedia, this is false. You are not Delta's customer, you are Expedia's customer. And this is where the nightmare begins, with something the industry calls agency control. Every reservation has something called a PNR, passenger name record. It's the digital file that contains your itinerary, your name, and your payment info. When you book directly on Delta.com, Delta owns that file. If you need to change something, a Delta agent at the airport can open that file and make changes instantly. When you book on Expedia, Expedia owns that file. To ensure they get their commission and control the pricing, they place what we call a GDS lock on the file. Think of it like a digital padlock. Here's what happens when you are at the airport. You walk up to the nicest Delta Gate agent in the world. You say, "Can I change to the earlier flight?" She types in your name. Your reservation pops up on her screen. But all the buttons on her keyboard that would normally allow her to change your flight, select a seat, or issue a refund are grayed out. They are physically disabled by the computer software. A big red banner might flash across the top of her screen that says, "Restricted, Agency Control. Contact travel agent." She cannot override this. It's not policy. It's hard-coded into the system software to protect the travel agency's ownership of the booking. She literally cannot touch your ticket. I'll never forget working a flight out of Florida a few years ago. An older couple came running up to the gate. They were panicked. They had just gotten a call that their granddaughter was rushed to the hospital back home, and they needed to get there immediately. There was a flight leaving in 45 minutes that had plenty of open seats. They pleaded with the gate agent, "Please just put us on this flight. We'll pay whatever." The agent, who was almost in tears herself, had to show them her screen. "I am so sorry. I want to help you, but you booked with Expedia. The system has locked me out. I cannot issue you a ticket for this flight. You have to call Expedia to release the ticket." They stood there at the gate, frantically trying to navigate an automated phone menu on hold for 20 minutes, watching the plane push back from the gate without them. If they had booked directly, that agent could have rebooked them in 30 seconds, probably for free due to the emergency. Because they saved $20 on Expedia, they missed the chance to be with their family. Before you go to the airport, you need to know who owns your ticket. Look at your confirmation email. Does it say sold by Expedia or travel agency booking anywhere near the confirmation code? If you are at the airport and an agent says they can't help you, do not yell at them. Ask them this specific question. Is my record under agency control and locked out? If they say yes, you now know the truth. Do not waste your breath arguing. Step away, pull out your phone, and start calling the third-party site. It is your only option. Trap number 1 is bad enough when you want to make a voluntary change. Trap number 2 is what happens when the airline screws up, and it's called IROPS, irregular operations. This is weather delays, mechanical issues, crew timeouts. When the system melts down, if you booked with Expedia, you become a ping pong ball in a game no one wants to win. Every ticket comes with a massive legal document called the contract of carriage. It spells out what the airline owes you if they delay or cancel your flight. When you book directly, the airline has a direct contract with you. When you book with Expedia, the airline's primary financial contract is with Expedia, the entity that actually paid them. When a massive delay happens, let's say a blizzard cancels 500 flights, the airline needs to rebook thousands of people instantly. Their automated systems prioritize the people they have direct contracts with. If you are an Expedia customer, the airline system often kicks you out of the automated rebooking queue. Why? Because your ticket might have complex rules or commission structures attached to it that the airline's rebooking robot cannot figure out. So, the airline tells you, go talk to Expedia to get rebooked. You call Expedia. Expedia's call center agent in a different country looks at their screen and says, "We can't touch the ticket because the airline has taken control of it on the day of travel. Go talk to the airline. Welcome to the ping pong game." The airline points at Expedia. Expedia points at the airline. You are stuck in the middle, on hold, while the last remaining hotel rooms and rental cars are snapped up by direct booking customers. For my audience age 55-75 plus, this is not just an inconvenience, it is a health risk. Being stranded in an airport for 24 hours because no one will take responsibility for you means missed medication doses. It means sleeping on a hard floor, which is terrible for your joints. It means not having access to your CPAP machine. It means severe anxiety spikes that can affect blood pressure. I have seen seniors having full medical episodes in terminals because they were trapped in this bureaucratic nightmare for hours on end. I had a passenger, a lovely woman in her late 60s, flying alone during a winter storm meltdown in Chicago. Her connecting flight was canceled. She had booked via Orbitz. The airline line was 4 hours long. She got on the phone with Orbitz. She spent a total of 9 hours on hold, or being transferred between frantic airline agents who said they couldn't touch the ticket and Orbitz agents who said the same thing. Neither side would take ownership to simply put her on a flight the next day and get her a hotel voucher. I found her crying quietly near the gate at midnight. She ended up sleeping on her carry-on bag on the floor of O'Hare Terminal C. If she had booked directly, she would have been automatically rebooked on the app and offered a discounted hotel rate within minutes of the cancellation. This is one of the sneakiest tricks third-party sites use to show you a lower price, and it is exponentially more dangerous than people realize. I call it the franken ticket. The websites often call them hacker fares or split itineraries. Here is how it works. You want to fly from New York to Los Angeles and back. Expedia's computer looks at the prices and realizes it's cheaper to sell you a ticket on United for the way out, and a totally separate ticket on American for the way back. They bundle it together in one shopping cart, one total price, one confirmation email. It looks like one round-trip ticket. It is not one round-trip ticket. It is two completely separate, unrelated one-way tickets. Why is this disastrous? Because United and American have absolutely no legal agreement for your specific trip. They do not know the other ticket exists. Let's say your outbound flight on United is delayed by 4 hours due to weather. This makes you miss the start of your cruise or your event in LA. You decide, well, the trip is ruined. I'm just not going to go. You call United because it's a weather delay. They might give you a refund or a credit for their portion. But American Airlines does not care that your United flight was delayed. As far as American is concerned, your return flight in 3 days is operating perfectly on time. If you don't show up for that American flight to fly home, American marks you as a no-show. When you no-show, your entire ticket value is instantly forfeited. It goes to $0, no refund, no credit, nothing. You cannot call American and say, but my United flight was late. They will tell you, that's not our problem. You booked 2 separate tickets. You are left holding the bag for half the cost of your trip, with zero recourse. A retired couple on a fixed income was flying from Denver to Rome for a once-in-a-lifetime cruise. Expedia sold them a franken ticket. Leg 1, Denver to London on Airline A. Leg 2, London to Rome on Airline B. These were separate tickets. Their flight out of Denver was delayed 5 hours due to a mechanical issue. They landed in London and missed their connection to Rome on Airline B. They went to the Airline B counter in London. The agent said, "You missed your flight. We can sell you a new ticket for tomorrow for $700 each." The couple was stunned. "But our first flight was late. You have to rebook us." The agent replied, "We have no record of your first flight. You are on separate tickets. You are a no-show for our flight. We owe you nothing." They had to pay $2,400 on the spot just to get to their cruise. It devastated their travel budget for the year. Before you click buy on any third-party site, you must look closely at the flight details. Look for phrases like separate tickets booked together, hacker fare. This trip involves 2 different airlines. The biggest red flag? Look at the confirmation screen before you pay. If you see 2 different 6-digit confirmation codes, you are buying a franken ticket. If you see this, stop. Do not buy it. Go to the airline websites directly and book a true round-trip ticket, or book 2 one-ways directly with the airlines so you at least know what the rules are. Do not let a middleman hide the risk from you. Trap number 4 is the one that causes the most tears at the boarding gate, especially for my older passengers traveling as couples. You book your trip on Expedia, you get to the screen where you pick your seats, you see 2 seats together, 15A and 15B. You select them, you feel relieved. Good, we are sitting together. You get your confirmation email from Expedia. It says seats 15A, 15B. You show up at the airport, print your boarding passes, and your stomach drops. One pass says 15B, the other says 34E, a middle seat at the back of the plane, 20 rows away. You panic. You rush to the gate agent. There's a mistake. We picked seats together on Expedia. The agent looks at her screen and says the words I have to say 10 times a day. I'm sorry, but the seat map on Expedia isn't real time. Those seats weren't actually available, or the system moved you. This is one of the dirtiest secrets in the industry. The seat maps you see on many OTAs are a mirage. When you select a seat on a third-party site, you are not reserving a seat. You are putting in a request. Expedia's computer sends a message to the airline's computer saying, "Sophia would like seat 15A, but the airline's computer doesn't always listen. Here's why you get moved. Real-time lag. The Expedia seat map might be 20 minutes out of date. Someone on the actual airline website might have snagged 15A 10 seconds before you clicked it on Expedia. Equipment changes. If the airline changes the plane type from a Boeing 737 to an Airbus A320, the seating chart completely changes. The airline's computer has to reshuffle 150 people. Who gets priority to keep their aisle or window? The direct booking customers and high-status flyers. Who gets shoved into whatever middle seats are left over? The third-party bookings. The phantom seat. Sometimes OTAs will show seats as free that the airline has actually blocked for elite members or families with small children. You think you picked it, but the airline system rejected the request instantly, and Expedia never told you. This one broke my heart. I was boarding a flight from Seattle to Phoenix. An older couple came down the jet bridge. The gentleman was clearly confused and anxious. His wife was holding his arm tightly. She told me he had early-stage dementia and got terrified when he wasn't right next to her. They had booked on Priceline months ago and selected seats together. When they got their boarding passes, they were split by 20 rows. The wife was frantic, near tears at the gate area. "He can't sit alone. He won't understand where I am. Expedia promised us these seats." The flight was completely full. I got on the PA system and had to beg. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have an older couple that has been separated. The gentleman requires assistance. Is there anyone in an aisle seat willing to swap for a middle seat in the back so they can sit together?" It took 10 minutes of embarrassing negotiation to find a kind soul willing to move. The husband was visibly shaking by the time he sat down. If they had booked directly, the airline system would have recognized they were on the same PNR and would have fought much harder to keep them together during any reshuffling. They paid a terrible emotional price for trusting an OTA's fake seat map. If you think changing a ticket is hard, wait until you try to get a refund for a canceled flight. We all remember the chaos of 2020 when billions of dollars in refunds were owed. People who booked directly got their money back in a week or two. People who booked with OTAs waited 6 months, a year, or never got cash at all. When you buy a ticket on Expedia, you pay Expedia. Expedia keeps its cut and pays the airline. When the airline cancels your flight and owes you a refund, the airline does not pay you. The airline refunds Expedia. By law, the airline has done its job. The money is gone from their bank account. Now Expedia is sitting on your money. Why does it take so long for Expedia to give it to you? The float. Imagine Expedia is holding $50 million in customer refunds. Every day they sit on that cash. They are earning interest in their corporate bank accounts. They are financially incentivized to drag their feet. The credit push, they know you want cash. But they also know that if they can trick you into accepting a future flight credit instead, they get to keep the cash and ensure you have to spend money with them again. They will bury the cash refund option behind 12 clicks and an hour on hold while making the accept credit button giant and neon green. And here is the kicker. Often, the credits issued by OTAs have much stricter expiration dates and rules than credits issued directly by the airline. I met a woman who had lost her husband unexpectedly. They had a trip booked to Europe, booked via an OTA that cost over $4,000. The airline policy was clear. In the event of the death of a passenger, a full cash refund is available to the spouse upon presentation of a death certificate. She sent the death certificate to the OTA. For 6 months, she fought with them. Every time she called, a new agent told her they hadn't received the document, or it wasn't the certified copy, or they were waiting for airline approval. She was grieving, dealing with probate, and having to fight tooth and nail for $4,000 that was legally hers. The stress was unimaginable. She finally got the refund only after filing a formal complaint with the Department of Transportation and getting a consumer advocate journalist involved. If she had booked directly, she could have walked into any airport ticket counter with the death certificate, spoken to a human being, and had the refund processed in 20 minutes. If you are stuck in refund purgatory with an OTA for a flight to or from the US, you need to use the nuclear option. Do not keep calling their customer service. Go to the U.S. Department of Transportation Aviation Consumer Protection website, search for File a Consumer Complaint. Fill out the form. State clearly, my flight was canceled by the airline. I am owed a prompt cash refund under U.S. law. OTA name has refused to provide it for X number of days. Attach screenshots of your refund requests. The DOT is the only entity these companies fear. When the DOT sends an official inquiry to the OTA regarding your case, your refund magically appears in your bank account within a week. It is sad that it comes to this, but it is often the only way. This trap is designed to exploit your desire for a deal, and it can lead to severe physical discomfort and hidden costs that wipe out any savings. You see a flight on Priceline from Chicago to Las Vegas for $150. Amazing. The next cheapest option is $220. You grab the $150 ticket. You have just been baited into basic economy. Airlines hate selling basic economy. It exists only to compete with budget carriers like Spirit. They make the experience miserable on purpose to force you to upgrade. When you book basic economy on the airline's own site, they throw up 3 different pop-up warning screens. Are you sure? No bags, no seat selection, no changes, middle seat guaranteed. You have to actively click I accept these terrible conditions. OTAs, however, want that price to look as attractive as possible. They often hide these massive restrictions in the tiny fine print or behind a small link that says, "Rules and restrictions apply." They don't want to scare you away from the sale. For my audience, the restrictions of basic economy are not just annoying, they can be physically harmful. The carry-on ban. Some basic economy fares do not allow a full-sized carry-on bag in the overhead bin. You are permitted only a small personal item that fits under the seat. Consequence. If you rely on a rollerboard to carry your essential medications, your CPAP, or change of clothes in case of delays, you will be forced to gate check it. Now your critical meds are in the cargo hold, inaccessible during the flight and at risk of getting lost. The middle seat guarantee, you cannot select a seat. You will be assigned whatever is left at check-in. That is almost always a middle seat in the back of the plane. Consequence, if you have hip issues, arthritis, or need to use the restroom frequently, being trapped in a middle seat for 4 hours is physical torture. You cannot get up to stretch without disturbing two strangers. I was working the gate for a United flight. A sweet older woman came up to board with a small roller bag. Her boarding pass said Basic Economy, Group 5. I had to stop her. Ma'am, I'm sorry, your ticket doesn't allow an overhead bag. You have to check that, and there's a $65 gate check fee. She was confused. But I bought a ticket! Priceline didn't say anything about this, then her face went pale. My heart medication and my husband's insulin are in that bag. I can't check it. What if it gets lost? We had a crisis at the gate. I had to call a supervisor to override the rule because it was a medical necessity, delaying boarding. She was embarrassed and stressed. She paid $65 extra at the gate, wiping out the $40 she thought she saved on Priceline, and endured immense stress, all because the OTA obscured the reality of what she was buying. Trap number 7 is the stuff of travel nightmares. It's the scenario where you do everything right, you pay your money, you get a confirmation screen, you pack your bags, and you show up at the airport, and you don't have a ticket. We call this the ghost ticket. This is a technical failure in the communication between the OTA and the airline's reservation system. When you click buy on an OTA, two things happen, but they don't always happen at the exact same second. Reservation creation. The OTA grabs the seats and charges your credit card. They show you a confirmed screen. Ticketing, the OTA sends the money to the airline, and the airline issues a 13-digit ticket number. This is the actual contract. Sometimes in the 30 seconds to 5 minutes between step 1 and step 2, something goes wrong. Maybe the fare expired, maybe the seats weren't actually available, maybe the internet connection hiccuped. The airline rejects the ticketing request. The OTA should immediately notify you that the booking failed and refund your card. But sometimes their system fails to do that. You think you are booked because you saw the confirmed screen and saw the charge pending on your card. I had a family reunion of 8 people show up at my counter in Denver, heading to Mexico. Grandparents, parents, grandkids. They were so excited. The grandfather proudly handed me a printout from an obscure OTA I'd barely heard of. It had a confirmation code on it. I typed it in. Reservation not found. I tried their names. No record. I tried the credit card number. Nothing. I had to look this sweet grandfather in the eye and say, "Sir, I am so sorry. You do not have seats on this flight. The flight is completely full. We have no record of this purchase ever being completed with the airline." The color drained from his face. But I paid. I have the paper. They had bought ghost tickets. The OTA had taken their money, but failed to secure the actual tickets from us. The family reunion was ruined. They had to buy 8 new walk-up price tickets on a different airline later that day, costing them thousands extra, and spend hours on the phone fighting to get their original money back. Never rely solely on an OTA confirmation screen. How do you know you don't have a ghost ticket? 24 hours after you book, go to your credit card statement. Is the charge pending or posted? More importantly, find your email confirmation. Look for the ticket number. It is almost always a 13-digit number. If you have a 6-character confirmation code but no 13-digit ticket number, you do not have a ticket. You have a reservation that hasn't been paid for yet. You must call the airline directly and ask them, "Can you verify that my reservation has been ticketed and provide the 13-digit number?" If they say no, you need to panic now, not at the airport. If there is one trap that should convince you never to use a third-party site again, it is this one. When things are going well, everyone gets on the plane. But when a true crisis hits, a hurricane, a massive IT failure, a strike, and thousands of flights are canceled at once, the airline enters triage mode. There are suddenly 50,000 stranded people and only 10,000 available seats on flights over the next 2 days. Who gets those seats? Airlines have invisible priority lists programmed into their rebooking computers. They don't advertise this, but every gate agent knows it exists. When we have to manually rebook people, here's the hierarchy: the high value elites, the million milers, the diamond medallions. They are the first to get a call, the first to get protected on a new flight. The direct customers, people who booked on the airline's own website or app, especially those who paid full fare or have the airline's credit card. Everyone else. If you booked on Expedia, Orbitz, or, heaven forbid, a budget site you've never heard of, you are at the absolute bottom of the priority list. Why? Because you are the least profitable customer to the airline, and you are the hardest to rebook technically. I was working during the massive Southwest Airlines meltdown over that holiday season a few years back. It was chaos. People were sleeping in the terminal for days. I saw two passengers standing next to each other in line. Passenger A booked directly on the airline app. While standing in line, his phone buzzed. The airline's automated system had proactively found him a seat on a flight the next morning and booked it for him. He smiled, left the line, and went to a hotel. Passenger B booked on a third-party site to save $40. Her phone did not buzz. The automated system passed her over because her ticket was under agency control and too complex for the bot to handle. She stood in that line for 5 hours just to talk to a human. When she finally got to the front, all the seats for the next 3 days were gone, taken by the direct customers who got helped by the robots hours ago. When a crisis hits, you do not want to be at the back of the line. This final trap is financial. Many of my passengers in the 55-75 plus demographic are very savvy about maximizing their retirement budget. You love travel rewards, points, and miles. You assume that because you entered your frequent flyer number on the Expedia checkout screen, you are earning miles for your trip. Often, you are not. Airlines have dozens of different fare classes. Some are fully refundable, some earn 100% miles, and some earn 0 miles. OTAs often secure their cheap prices by buying up the lowest, most restrictive fare classes, the ones that airlines have specifically designated as non-mileage earning. Furthermore, if you are trying to earn elite status with an airline, spending money on an OTA almost never counts towards the spending requirement needed to reach that status. The airline only rewards you for money spent directly with them. You take a $2,000 trip to Europe booked on Expedia. You expect to earn thousands of miles, maybe enough for a free domestic flight to visit the grandkids. You check your account after the trip. 0 miles earned. Because you saved $50 booking with a middleman, you threw away $300 worth of future travel value. That is bad math. If you want your travel to work for you, you must book directly. I know this has been a lot of heavy information. It can feel overwhelming to realize the travel industry is set up this way. But knowledge is your armor. Now I want to hear from you. I've shared my horror stories from behind the counter. Question of the day. Have you ever been burned by a middleman? Tell me your worst story down in the comments about a time Expedia, Priceline, or any other third-party site left you high and dry. What happened? Did you ever get your money back? Let's share our experiences so we can learn from each other and warn our fellow travelers. Look, I know what you're thinking, Sophia. Times are tight. Inflation is up. If I can save $40 on a flight, I should do it. I hear you. I really do. I respect that you are careful with the money you've worked your whole life to save. But I want you to reframe what that $40 actually buys you. When you book directly with the airline, that extra $40 isn't wasted money. It is an insurance policy. It's insurance that says when the snowstorm hits, you can use the app to rebook yourself instantly instead of waiting on hold for 9 hours. It's insurance that says when you arrive at the airport, the gate agent can actually open your ticket and help you get to your family emergency. It's insurance that says you won't be split up from your spouse on a cross-country flight because a fake seat map lied to you. Think about this phase of your life. You are traveling to make precious memories. Anniversaries, reunions, bucket list adventures. These trips are irreplaceable. Are those memories really worth risking to save the cost of a tank of gas? Stop handing control of your destiny to an algorithm that doesn't care if you make it to your grandson's wedding. Stop letting a middleman stand between you and the help you need when things go wrong. Take control. Book direct. Buy yourself the peace of mind you deserve. If you found this guide helpful and want more unfiltered truths from the galley about how to travel smarter, safer, and with less stress, please subscribe to my channel. I am your guardian in the galley, and I will always tell you the truth about how this industry works. Safe travels, everyone. And remember, the best deal is the one that actually gets you there.